Hi everyone, I'm Danielle Matus here at Caring Medical Florida. Today I have with me Susan. We're going to talk about your hips.
Well, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. So when you first came to Caring Medical, about a year ago?
About a year ago.
Okay, and why don't you tell me, what brought you here?
So in 2016, I was diagnosed with parvovirus, which is the virus that little kids get that causes fifth disease. And in adults, it caused swelling of the hands, wrists, feet, and ankles. And from there, the parvovirus side effect was polymyalgia rheumatica. So that settled into my hips.
Okay.
And then eventually they said, oh, well, now you have trochanteric bursitis in both hips. So I had a lot of symptoms. I couldn't sleep on my right side. I couldn't sleep on the left side. And then not long after I was diagnosed, I fell and I had a gluteal tear on the right side. So there was a combination of all of these things.
Both very painful. Trochanteric bursitis and glute tears, very painful.
So eventually it took, I saw a rheumatologist who eventually, diagnosed all of this in this sort of chain of events. And he started me on prednisone. And prednisone worked, and so the goal with prednisone is you start here and you taper down. And as soon as I would get down to around 2 milligrams, the symptoms were right back again. And so we did this yo-yo of prednisone up and down for quite a long time. And one of the side effects of prednisone is insomnia. So now I'm sleep deprived, and then during the day I'm feeling like I could do anything. I felt, it's a great feeling with prednisone. Eventually the prednisone just wasn't doing what it needed to do. And so we switched over to cortisone injections. And I remember the very first one that I had, I couldn't believe it. I stood up and I had no pain. I had no pain at all.
Did they do it in the bursa?
They did it right into the bursa, right side and left side. So at first we went, every 6 months, and the goal was that we would start on the cortisone that would give my body time to heal.
Sure, and rehab and try to
exactly. Did physical therapy. I was walking. I was doing everything I could to get better. Well, that went on for years, and eventually I was down to cortisone every 3 months, and it wasn't even lasting a month. And of course, I couldn't have it any more often than every 3 months. And I was just desperate. It was controlling my life. I had to figure out if I was going to travel, if I was going to get on a plane, where was I in the cycle of cortisone so that I could negotiate walking from one side of a airplane terminal to another. And it was just affecting everything that I was doing.
Because you like to travel. That's like a big part of your life.
Travel.
Yeah.
I have a daughter who lives in California, a son who lives in Ohio, and I have grandchildren. And so traveling is part of what I do.
Yeah.
And I'm active. I like to walk. I like to hike. I'm on the move pretty often. So I finally went to my primary care and to my the rheumatologist that I was seeing. I said, we have to do something. And they referred me to a surgeon, and they said, we think you're a candidate to have the bursa removed. Okay, so I went to the surgeon, and the surgeon said, oh, we don't do that. And I was just like, why am I here, right?
Yeah.
Why am I here? And I was so discouraged. Like, what was I going to do? And I talked to my primary care, and we went on a regimen where when I got to the end where the cortisone wasn't working, I would take a very low dose of prednisone just to get me to the next injection. And then I just started researching what are alternative therapies for trochanteric bursitis. And I came across this clinic. So I am from New England, but I actually had bought a house here in Fort Myers. So I spent more than half the year down here.
That worked out well for you.
And I went, well, this is in Fort Myers. This is just fate. I came in I think it was January of 2023. And met you for the first time.
I remember because you were, I wish that I would have recorded how you were walking that day, and we didn't, but you were in rough shape.
Oh.
Like, to have you walk down the hall was miserable.
It was hard for me to walk. I had to think about, before my house back in New England had a second story, I had to stop at the bottom of the stairs and think about, okay, if I go up those steps, can I stay there? Do I need to come back down? Because it was going to be very difficult to get back, to just climb up and down the steps. I was limited in what type of activity I could do. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep on my right side. I couldn't sleep on my back side. I was flip-flopping all night long. So I'm sleep deprived on top of all of that. And it was just really, really affecting the quality of my life.
Well, yeah, you think about, like, there's a lot of things that, I mean, myself, I would take for granted, like being able to walk up and down stairs, like, oh, I forgot something. Okay, I got to go back up. And I wouldn't think anything of it. But to have to plan your day around it,
Right.
or like what you were saying with the airport, like, gosh, like, can I do this? Can I physically walk through an airport? Can I physically get where I need to go to see my loved ones?
That's right.
That's really hard. And if, we were talking about this before, I think, your left hip did not have the tear.
No, it was the
right.
right
It was the
hip
right one.
did.
So your left one, what did we do? We had 4 PRP.
We did 4 PRPs,
Prolos,
yeah, and exactly on the left side, and then 6 on the right.
and 6 on the right. And so, and I think you would agree, like, healing is not necessarily that you get better every day. You have those little ups and downs, and, you're better, and then maybe, it's a couple of steps forward, maybe sounds like one step back, but as long as we're kind of on this, roller coaster trending upward, you get better. And since I saw you last, I mean, you've been traveling, you went to Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell me.
So you actually explained it to me when we started this, that cortisone is instant gratification. You feel good within a minute after getting the injection. Prolotherapy and PRP is more like crockpot cooking. It's going to take a while,
like that,
and you have to have that. You have to have patience and trust in the process. So when we had the last treatment, which was June of last year, in July, I flew to California to my daughters and my grandchildren and met my son and my grandson there. And the two families, we went on a road trip to Northern California and Oregon. And my kids and grandchildren are all hikers. They all are very active. And so we hiked all around the Northern California coast and in Oregon. And I think the best part was we went to Crater Lake and we hiked a mile down into the crater, and the boys were jumping off cliffs and having a grand time. I didn't get that far.
Maybe for the best.
But then I had to hike a mile back up. And
Like, you weren't stuck in the crater.
I was not stuck in the crater. So 37 miles we hiked in that 1 week. And this was just a month or so after treatment.
That's incredible.
From there, I went to Italy in the fall. We walked mile after mile after mile over cobblestone streets. I can't even tell you the amount of steps that we climbed.
Yeah.
We were there for 2 weeks. I was with a cousin. We went with 2 weeks. We had a fabulous time, and I was not limited of what I could do and where I could go. And then I think the final test of all of this is in December. I flew to Singapore and the Philippines with my daughter and her family, and I sat 17 hours on a plane.
Oh my gosh.
So 17 hours on a plane, and I got up and I walked off and I went, oh my heavens, I am fine.
That's no small feat. Yeah.
It is no small feat. So, to me, the prolotherapy and the PRP, it was a miracle, and I said it over and over again, this is just a miracle. I would never have guessed that this would have happened. I got my life back. It's been pure joy ever since that. And for my family to see me feeling good and being so active, I am the niece of a uncle who will be 104 in July, who is still very active. And so I keep saying to the kids, I'm probably going to see that.
Yeah, you got a lot of years left.
I got a lot of years left, yeah.
Well, and I think steroid shots, you're exactly right. Like, they're instant gratification, especially when you have, like, this terrible pain. But what happens is, people say, like, oh, my first cortisone was fantastic, I felt great. And then you get to a point where, like you said, they're not lasting as long. Mm-hmm. And I think people may assume, like, oh, gosh, I've built a tolerance or whatnot. But really what happens is your condition just gets that much worse. Mm-hmm. The same dose of cortisone can't keep up. And to be honest, the surgeon did you a really big favor by not removing your bursa. Yeah. I've seen cases like that. The other thing I wanted to say was chronic pain, especially like how you've described it affects you tremendously, but it also does affect your loved ones as well. You know what I mean? When you can't go see your grandkids, and it really kind of takes its toll on its whole family. So I'm glad that we were able to help you.
Oh, I am too. I am too. I'm grateful. I am so grateful.
I remember because I was walking outside like a couple months ago, and you just happened to be driving by. You like flagged me down to tell me how good you were. So, which I love stories like that. So
Yeah,
I'm happy for you.
Well, I am forever grateful. I think that for anyone who's on the fence of whether to do this or not, I just cannot even tell you. I can't recommend it more highly. It saved my life for sure.
Well,
Yeah.
it was an honor to help you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.